Hi, welcome to Cooking with Krystle. I'm Krystle. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a roast pork, or also known as pernil. So the ingredients you're going to need is going to be a roast pork. I have my roast pork here. I've already washed him, which that only consists of soaking him in water and vinegar. So I've soaked him in water and vinegar for a good half an hour. You're going to need a baking pan. I'm going to use a disposable baking pan because I don't like to wash dishes. Um, you're also going to need adobo, sazon, oregano, olive oil, and garlic. And you're going to need a grater or a grinder, however you chop up your garlic. I am going to use a grater to grate my garlic. I like my garlic to be nice and fine. So I've already grated 13 cloves of garlic, but I have a few out here so I can show you how I grate them. So before I get started, I'm going to wash my hands and show you how to do this. Excuse me for a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is peel my garlic. Peel the garlic, it's very simple. You're just going to cut off the end of it and just go around it like this. So I'm just going to do a couple of these so you can see how I do it. Depending on how big your pork is, depends on how much garlic you use. It's all up to you. I like my garlic to have my roast pork to have a lot of flavor, so I am using a whole head of garlic. We're not going to do all of these, just to show you how I do it. Cut that little piece off. I'm going to rinse these real quick. Now, you can use a big grater, or you can use a hand grater. I like to use the big grater because it's easier for me, and I'm so used to doing it with a big grater. So I'm gonna take these garlics and put them here on the side. So when I grate my garlic, I use this side here, the real small part, and I just take the garlic and rub it right across, and I'm just gonna do a couple of these. Lost it. Okay, so this is how I grate the garlic. So I'm going to put my garlic in this bowl here. This is what I'm going to use. And I am going to put 2 tablespoons of adobo into this garlic. So you don't have to use as much adobo, but like I said, I like mine to have a lot of flavor. So I am going to use 2 tablespoons of adobo, and I am going to put some oregano in there also. Easier for me to, and I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of oregano. also going to use 1 package of sazon. I'm going to mix everything together, and I am going to use some olive oil. And of course, plenty of olive oil in here, alright, just so you can make like a paste. And I'm going to mix all this together because this is what I'm going to use to season the roast pork. Put a little more olive oil. So this is my paste to season my roast pork. So I'm going to take this over here. Now my roast pork is about 8 pounds, so that's really big. I have a big family, so I got a big one. You can buy whichever size you like, and you can find them in mostly all supermarkets or meat markets. So the first thing about the roast pork is that you're gonna have to make puncture wounds or stab wounds because you're gonna make like big slices in it. So this way you can stuff the seasoning inside the holes. So I'm going to make a couple of holes around it. You can make them deep. I like to make them deep because I like to really stuff the garlic inside the pork. So, see, I have holes here. And this is actually the bottom part because this is going to go on the bottom of the pan. So, you want the skin part to be up so it can roast well. So I like to slice it really deep. See where you can actually stuff the garlic inside of it. So I'm just going to make a couple of these holes. So I also like to make sure I get it in the sides too. But you got to be careful with the knife. Let's see. So then you're going to stuff the garlic and the seasoning in it. But now you're going to turn it to the other side and make some holes on the other side. Now this part of the roast pork is really tough because it's the skin. So you got to make sure your knife is nice and sharp. So you see how deep I'm doing this slice here? So I can put plenty of garlic and seasoning in there. And you got to be careful you don't hit a bone. This one's not as wide as the other one. But I like to make sure I get much in there. This here looks like it'll be a good place. Alright, I have a few here. This bone is here, so you gotta be careful when you make the stab wound. So this way you don't cut yourself. So it's a nice hole there, nice and big, so season it well. Excuse me. Okay, so we have our slices. I want to put a hole here, but I feel the bone there, so I don't want to cut myself. Now that I have my holes on my slices, turn it back over because I want to stuff this part of it first. So now I'm going to take my seasoning. and I'm going to start to stuff it in the holes. The key to the roast pork is the garlic. The more garlic you have in it, the more flavorful it's going to come out. So sometimes you lose your holes. You got to look for them where you put them. Put one here. I think I got them all, but I want to stick a hole here inside, so this up. So I want to put another hole right here. Slice it. Now we're going to take a little bit of this and just rub it all the way around. So now I am going to turn this roast pork to the other side, and I'm going to stuff garlic in there also. Running out, so I'm just going to add a little more olive oil in this paste to stretch it out. So now that I stuffed all the little pockets, I am going to put this on top. So now I'm just going to rub this around. And we're going to turn it back on the end again to make sure I rub this around also. Just want to make sure it's gets enough seasoning all around. So now I'm going to add one more package of sazon around it, over it, and sprinkle a little more oregano on top of it. And then I am going to wrap it with aluminum foil and put it in the oven on 250 degrees. And I am going to let this roast bake for 4 to 5 hours because it's so big. So the bigger your roast pork is, the longer you're going to have to cook it, and the lower, if you leave it on a very low temperature, the longer you're going to have to cook it. I like to cook my roast pork on 250 degrees for 3 hours, and then I like to raise it up after 3 hours to 350 and let it bake for another 2 hours on 350 degrees. The key to any roast is leaving it on a low flame, on a low temperature for a longer amount of time because the meat becomes more tender. So I am going to wrap some foil on this and put it in the oven on 250 degrees. And it's always best to season your roast pork the night before so it can be more flavorful. I am just going to bake this today for the purposes of this video. So after 3 hours, I'm gonna take the foil off and let it bake on 350 degrees for another 2 hours. So I'll see you later.